what was the final stroke that goaded you to raise your hand for this very, very daunting task?
As I kept looking and just thinking, is that the perils of misgovernance by the ANC has now become a direct vote of no confidence in the ability of black people to lead.
They've cast a spell on black people.
They've cast a spell on black people, and they've done what I call basijwayeza kabi ngabelungu.
What are the 5 priorities for you? And that's what you're going to be promising the people of Joburg. What are the 5 priorities?
We need to deal with the topical issue. How do you handle the question of undocumented foreign nationals who are trading in the city illegally? There's a lawful way. Currently, when we talk undocumented foreign nationals, it seems as we're talking about undocumented African foreign nationals. There are undocumented Chinese in this city,
Yes.
Pakistanis in this city,
They're being smuggled
Eastern
in containers.
Europeans in this city, who have huge financial capital, advancement of opportunities. Because why you are seeing this to be seemingly what some call black on black violence is because in those communities, if we are talking about, it's a class struggle. There is serious, material resources hunger.
Welcome to the Brutally Honest Conversation with me, Brutus Marada, on the Sunday World Podcast, SW Podcast. Today, we are hosting an old friend, Lukhona Mnguni, who has announced his candidature for the mayor of Johannesburg. Lukhona is known as a public intellectual, as a political analyst, a commentator of note, who has been on the TV screens, radios, and newspapers. Lukhona, welcome to SW Podcast. How is the campaign going?
Let me greet you, brother, Brutus, and of course the viewers of SW Podcast. It feels strange. I think the last time we encountered each other in a broadcast element, I was the one asking questions and you were
We are
the one
the other way
responding. Now it's the other way.
Yeah.
The beauty of this democracy we live in is that it allows us to make some remarkable choices about our lives.
Yes.
Now the campaign, of course, we launched on Saturday, the 23rd of May. The last few days have been quite interesting. I now discover just how much politicians go through in trying to attract votes and get votes. But it's also been exciting because I think it's an opportunity to connect with the residents of the city of Johannesburg in a different way than I have in the previous few years, whether when I was on the radio and they would be calling in, or on TV and, when I had my own shows and they would be listening to me, or when they would be responding to my political commentary and challenging some of the things that I have to say. Now I'm encountering them more to say, I'd love to go to the city of Johannesburg, to be a servant and lead in the city on your behalf. So it's an interesting conversation that is happening in the campaign.
We'll get deep into the actual campaign itself, but I would like you to just briefly tell us who is Lukhona Mnguni and what does he stand for in the context of the campaign that you have just entered. We have a limited understanding out there about you based on our interactions with your work as a commentator, like you have said. But who is Lukhona Mnguni? What does he stand for?
Well, that's an interesting one. Lukhona Mnguni is a young man who was born. Funny enough, you asked this question because a cousin of mine sent me a voice note while I was coming here to studio, just saying, "You know where we come from, right?" I say, "Of course." I mean, we grew up in a village without electricity and no television. So when those who had electricity and TV recount the 1995 Rugby World Cup final, I would have been 6 in 1995, but I had no TV, no electricity. So I have no memories, save for what I've now in my adult life.
So you're Tinchwala.
No.
You are the Tinchwala that Ramaphosa has been talking about.
I'd love to think that Tinzwala is 94 onwards. But, look, I mean, we're of a generation of children who were born just moments before Nelson Mandela was released from prison. So, yes, at the cusp of transition, no doubt. And so, Lukhona, those who know me very well, I was Granny's boy. Until I lost my grandmother at 94 last year, May, actually, during this period. So during this day last year, I was preparing for my grandmother's funeral, which for me became a moment of transition in my life. Felt like I was losing a huge part of me and made me reflect a lot. That's who Lukhona partly is, a villager at heart who also, dabbles in subsistence farming. I have some sheep. And Lukhona is someone who has dedicated much of his adult life to living his patriotism and not pronouncing it. I came to Johannesburg in 2007 to pursue a mining engineering degree. Yes, and it's important to say that sometimes because people think that those who are in politics are there because it was a place of last resort.
Isn't it what has happened in the recent past? But anyway,
no, it's how. Yeah, of course we'll get to that. It's how we've vulgarized politics, and I think this is a moment to recapture the very essence of what politics should be about. Came here in 2007 in a bus, Translux bus. At the time, there were no Ubers and Bolts and whatever else. There were Rose cabs, Rose taxis. Was the main one. I mean, there were others, but Rose taxis. Everybody knew Rose taxis. And full of dreams, and I still am. If there's one thing that I've not lost is the ability to dream and to be bold and audacious. And so Lukhona is somebody then, of course, I stayed about 3 years in engineering and something, man, around that time it was all the Polokwane times and, Begi being recalled, then, then the National Convention, and then Congress of the People was launched, and then some of us were very excited. Like, yes, finally something that we can, I had never belonged to any political structure. And so at that moment when it was unfashionable, you see the stampede now in the ballot paper because it's now fashionable because it's no longer said it's cold outside the ANC. I mean, if it was cold, they would not be asking those who are outside to apply for mayoral candidates inside.
Exactly.
It's warm now outside. So everybody, there's a stampede. I mean, you'll remember those times, 2008, 2009. And as young students, full of energy, we thought we could do something for our country. We could be, could stand to be counted for something. And out of sheer hope and faith, got involved with the Congress of the People. And that was my first introduction to politics. It crumbled. July 2011, I left because foresight was telling me that there might be problems here. Then I spent the past 15 years of my life contributing to South Africa's political life in a variety of ways, through commentary, research, working in civil society, pioneering certain ideas, sitting on boards and so on, to live my patriotism, not just to pronounce it. And I think what I stand for is a deep love and commitment to this country. So that, as we have our conversation, it's not really about where I come from, how many siblings I have, and so on. That's not necessarily important. But what is important is my love and commitment to this country. And I've tried to the level best of my abilities to apply myself in learning. Sometimes people wonder, sometimes we ask what makes of a good commentator. And I often say, you need to think and keep thinking, but don't be swallowed by your own thoughts and ideas. You've got to widely be available to be in conversation with fellow citizens and South Africans. And that's what I've been doing. I am a person who's in community with fellow citizens. And it's been a beautiful journey of life with remarkable opportunities to work in broadcasting, in the university, in civil society, have been corporate. And I think now is the opportunity to, when I left mining engineering, I sort of decided to leave corporate. And now is probably, I sometimes joke and I say it's almost like reaching a final station in life, right? Politics. But I'm not new to politics, as I'm saying. So that's who Lukhona is. And he stands for, what I stand for is to ensure that we've got a South Africa that is safe for all of us, that offers opportunities for us to have upward mobility in life and not pay high costs to survive. That we build a country that is fundamentally rooted in democracy and the desire to achieve an equal society. And I want to live in that society. And I suppose that's why I've put my hand up.
Yeah, so you did mention that you had a stint with the Congress of the People, and you decided to leave that space and entered the independent space of commentary and broadcasting and so on. Now, what actually goaded you? What was the final stroke that goaded you to raise your hand for this very, very daunting task?
I think a number of things, but front and center is, as I kept looking and just thinking, is that the perils of misgovernance by the ANC, or as some would put it, elements within the ANC, has now become a direct vote of no confidence in the ability of black people to lead.
They've cast a spell on black people.
They've cast a spell on black people, and they've done what I call basijwayeza kabi ngabelungu. To a point that some people in our country, when they see black people, they see incompetence, they see corruption, they see greed and opulence. I take that very personally. And worse still that because this year is the 50th anniversary of June 16, 1976, which was founded on the philosophy of black consciousness, which philosophy was intended, as one of my professors, Prof. Mabukhumore, used to put it, to infuse pride in the soul of black people. And I feel that that pride is being depleted by those who are doing wrong. And therefore it becomes almost a signature for all of us. I take that seriously. That's the first. The second is that leadership, political leadership, generally, at least in progressive societies, is becoming younger. And there is even enough evidence in our country that there is room for young leaders. 2 metros in this country, the city of Tshwane and the city of Cape Town, are led by people I consider my peers.
Yeah.
We are of similar age.
Young people are capable.
There's probably 1 or 2 years between us. Mamdani, the mayor of New York, is younger than me.
Yeah.
The prime minister of Netherlands is 39. So there is no doubt that there is room for young leaders. And I just looked around what was happening in the city of Johannesburg as candidates were being announced, perhaps maybe until the IFP announced a young person before I was announced. It was just almost like we are on a political recycling factory. And I thought, where are the young leaders? When we talk about, low participation rates amongst young people in the elections and in the electoral politics, how can they not have low participation rates when they don't see themselves represented?
I in my previous life, I served in the Youth Commission, and some of the meetings we would have with our counterparts from other parts of the continent in the Bay. You'd go to meetings and you'll be meeting a chairperson of the equivalent of the Youth Commission, who is very, very old, in their 60s, in their 70s, and they are saying, no, I'm the chairperson of the youth. Yeah. So I think you are right in your observation that there is room for young people to lead, and even so, young people who are educated are capable. We are seeing what the other examples that you've mentioned. But has this sort of signaled the new era in our politics, maybe the era of professionals who have established careers elsewhere, going into politics? Is this an appetite for that kind of a new politician?
I think it's almost not even, if you think about it, it's not even it's probably a revival rather than a revelation of a new politician. There was a moment in time when even the ANC was led by the best amongst those in its ranks. Just if you were to close your eyes and think about the cabinets of 1994, 1999.
By the way, I think Tito Mboweni was 36.
He was in his early 30s when he became Minister of Labour in 1994. Yeah. Early 30s. So look at those cabinets. Look at the momentum of governance. Capable people, respected people who took themselves seriously and respected the duty that was bestowed upon them.
Yeah.
Because when we talk about all the revolutionary changes that happened, for example, in the mining sector to deal with questions of health and occupational safety issues, when we were dealing with, the need to decrease fatalities in the mining sector, putting the legislation in place, enforcing the legislation, and seeing the results. Mampumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka was the minister at the time for minerals. When we talk about the great work of pushing back on tobacco, smoking in public places, we say we made strides and gains in that era. Mama Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma was the Minister of Health. These were capable people. I mean, you can just recite the names, Bo Mabandla, Bo Skweya, Bo Asmal, Boma. Of course, mistakes happened.
Yes.
But I'm trying to say, not what you have now where, at cabinet level, where there are at least 4 ministers, well, one has now been dismissed, or from cabinet who have not gone beyond to get post-matric qualifications. It is a problem because then people are tasked with serious complex issues
that they cannot comprehend,
where they've never had in some aspect of life the need and ability to contend with complexity. There are people who do not have post-matric qualifications who have, in their own effort, immersed themselves with complexity and have led quite capably. So it's not to say you always need to have qualifications to be a capable leader, but it's important that we don't undermine the role of and the need for education in leadership. So the point I'm trying to say is that it's almost like a renaissance rather than a founding of this professional class of politician. The founding fathers of many liberation movements, fathers and mothers of the liberation movement.
They were educated
people. They left their professional lives and did the ultimate sacrifice so that this country could be freed. So it's probably been the right standard. That, of course, for some time, there was an era where we were even insulted as clever blacks because we simply dared to have opinions. You fellows were the mid-rank group, and you were hounded by politicians who felt insulted by the things that you were saying. The space for intellectualism was being deliberately shut down so that politicians who knew they were undeserving to climb the ranks that they had can be left alone without trouble. I think we've allowed that to happen for too long, and there must be a cohort of us who are courageous enough to say, look, here and no more.
Yeah, interestingly, the topic for my PhD, it's does the level of education matter in political office? But
we look forward.
I have collected data out of this conversation. But Lukhona, I must say you are brave.
Thank you.
Well, Thomas Sowell, who is here, the Intellectuals in Society, somewhere in the introductory chapter, says Adam Smith never owned a business, and Karl Marx never presided over the Gulag. Here is a public intellectual who has been a commentator on politics, observing and naming these things that were happening, helping society to open their eyes to see that our country is being led to the abyss. Now you are entering the fray. So I'm saying you are very proud. I mean, you are very brave to enter that space. But also, secondly, you have entered a race in which, in our informal conversation before we entered the studio, we said it looks like we're going to have a contest between the old and the new, between the future and the past, given the caliber of the candidates. Helen Zille, who is very advanced age-wise. Herman Mashaba, advanced age-wise. Kenny Kunene, 50-something also. I don't know who else. Well, IFP is... what's his name?
Mlungisi
Mabaso, who is young. Now you're going to have this contest of the old and the new, of the future and the past. Can you just reflect on what it means, especially for the young people that are out there who are said they are despondent and they are not participating in elections?
Well, look, it's a good way to frame it, because those who represent the future are surely those who will also live in that future. And therefore, the promises made are not just hypothetical promises. The vision shared is not just a hollow vision. It's a vision of the city of Johannesburg I wish to live in. I wish for my 5-year-old son to be part of and grow to. I don't want to be answering to him one day, Daddy, why didn't you do something when we were so unsafe as children that we could not even play outside without supervision? Where, the economy of the city of gold had died and nobody was thinking about what is the economy of the future for the city of Johannesburg. And therefore now with all the education, here I sit at home unemployed. That, when bylaws were not favorable to the informal economy and street traders, street vendors, when the spaza shops were not protected from your supermarkets like ShopRite, which can both be, supermarkets in a mall and spaza shops in a container. Nobody did anything about that and protecting, locals from owning their economy. Why didn't you do something about it? I don't want to be, unable to answer and say, I raised my hand and this is the vision I put forward. And I think because of this future and past, you will hear it in the campaign trail and in the debates, how different a language we will speak. The past is more concerned about rehabilitating that which it is familiar with. That's why, yes, I'm not trivializing this issue I'm going to name, but that's why fixing potholes, street lights, water in our taps is sort of like where the campaign ends for them. For me, fixing water in Johannesburg in 2026 is a given. It should not even be part of the campaign. This is such a moment of regression that a city as big as Johannesburg is only being preoccupied by basic service delivery needs. That's how broken this city has become. So we have to clean up the city of Joburg, the filth on the streets. And I keep repeating this. Find a solution. Find public toilets. Find a solution. But men can't go around peeing in the city. I promise you, just drive around this city for 20 minutes. You will spot a man peeing somewhere. There's a crisis there. That's filthy. And of course, it's public violence to a degree as well. No, I want to call it public violence because to those who do not wish to see or even imagine a man being naked, that's violence. It's not indecency. You are violating that person's space. So we've got to clean this city of Joburg. We've got to clean the governance, get rid of the corruption in the city of this, in the government of the city, which is why we talk about vote amasela out. And therefore, we've got to go on a journey with young people to say we want to build future economies that will deliver jobs, that will deliver skills of the future. The past is unable to talk about those things because, in actual fact, I don't think it's just a natural issue where your ability to envision or vision or to be a visionary about a long term beyond your own lifetime is a bit of a difficult thing when you are not sure how you navigate that space. Can you do only one term or two terms as mayor in the city of Joburg to deliver this Joburg that talks to this modern African city, that talks to this, as the tagline of the city goes, the world-class African, a world-class African city. There's nothing world-class about the city of Joburg, but there's every potential for the city of Johannesburg to become world-class. But you've got to infuse the energy, the vision, and you've got to bring a number of people along with you in that journey as you move into the future. And I think it's a very, very important thing for young people to make sure that they galvanize, resuscitate the spirit of the collective spirit of comradeship of young people to point to the direction that they want. Young people have never needed to be led at any point in this particular society. When there was a crisis in the liberation movement in the 1930s, it's the young people who led themselves in the early 40s, formed the Youth League in 1944. developed the program of action to radicalize the liberation movement in 1948.
The Defiance Campaign.
The Defiance Campaign, moving away from this, let's write.
You
know, some of those letters, really, when you read them,
yeah,
that presidents of the ANC would write, saluting. It was the king at first,
the
King George.
Yeah, King George.
The Fifth, saluting him and praising. You're like, they're not punchy enough. Then the young people came in the 40s. Punchy enough, revolutionized the leadership. Of course, the breakaway of the PAC, some very interesting young people as well involved in that process. 1960s, when the movements, the South African Communist Party and so on, were banned. It took young people to reinvigorate the spirit of liberation within the country. And we got to the 1976. The state of emergency, highly led by young people, whether it's from the University of Durban, Westville to Witwatersrand, who were SRCs.
Or TEFLOP.
Or TEFLOP. And those people who were part of revolutionizing the country in the state of emergency are big shot professionals now who are doing beautiful things in the legal fraternity, in business and corporate and so on. I'm trying to suggest that in 2026, confronted with this rot that confronts us, this decay and collapse that can confront us, it's only young people who can charge their spirits and demonstrate their energy and appetite and in there must be a fire. You must feel a fire in your heart, in your gut. There must be something in your belly. It is that kind of demonstrated leadership and will, political will, that we will carry and ensure that this decay, this rot, we infuse the energy and the political leadership needed for the administration. There's an administration in the city of Joburg of highly capable and capacitated people whose talents and expertise are often denied so that wrongdoing can happen.
Yeah. I hear you saying, because I was going to ask a question as to, faced with this older generation that you call it recycled leadership, faced with Herman, faced with Helen and Kunene and whoever, what then distinguishes you? What is it that you are offering? And I am hearing you saying that we need to look beyond the pothole and imagine a future Johannesburg.
Yes.
What is that future? Can you paint it for us?
Well, for me, first of all, what is on offer is a journey to a vision far bigger than the pothole. That's the first. I'm committed to that. The second one, that future is a Johannesburg that is safe and clean. Because in a safe Johannesburg, suddenly we can have a 20-hour economy. I mean, it's deplorable. Drive around Joburg at 9 p.m.
Yeah, it's
almost empty. Like a dead city.
It's a dead city.
It shouldn't be. I'm sure you've traveled cities around the world.
Yes.
I've traveled cities around the world. Many people listening to this conversation have traveled cities around the world. What have they enjoyed? The ability to walk long distances without feeling unsafe. The ability to be in the city until late and you still have what? Public transportation.
Which is reliable.
Which is affordable, which is safe. The ability to be in a city that offers you varieties of entertainment, whether during the day or during the nightlife. And that is why sometimes this vote amasela out slogan gets amended to be amasela out, ubumnandi in. So that sizokwazi ukugrova. No, we should never, people, because of fears, maybe, because of the levels. I mean, we are speaking here, there's recently been a bust at the Bait Bridge of drugs said to be worth a street value of R1 billion. What kind of society is this where people feel that they can smack R1 billion? So the drug cartel industry Hey, but we must be thankful of 6 July 2025. Right? Hey, brothers.
Yeah.
The drug cartel industry has gripped society, but particularly the city of Johannesburg.
There's no family today that can claim that they don't know any member of the broad family or extended family who is not affected by
in fact now it's becoming
the exposure to drugs has
I think
the
state is soon going to be in your nuclear family. Someone has been affected by the scourge of drugs.
It's very bad.
That city of Johannesburg is a Johannesburg where there is a nightlife but there's no place for drugs. There is a nightlife but there's no place for gangsters. There is a nightlife. There is no private security companies running amok in the city, whether some of them you don't know whether they are still part of security to secure human life or security to secure gangsters' life. That is the city I wish to live in, and the city I wish everybody should live in. A city that is home to some of the best and most renowned global activities, where it becomes a mecca of certain festivities that bring economic development, bring jobs, bring skills. I mean, I talk to people in the film sector, and they tell a story about how that economy, if you think about what you need from props to wardrobe to, cleaning, security, catering, it's not just about what is on your screen as a movie, a documentary, a reality show series. It's an economy. Why can't Johannesburg be, and I mean, and they say to me, your greatest currency in film is light. And have you seen in the last summer that the sun sets later now in Johannesburg? If you think about Joburg 3 years ago, sunset was much later this last summer. Which means...
I've not observed, yeah.
Which means then Johannesburg has potential to be one of the key centers. And that's why, and they say to me, that's why there's a lot of shooting that happens in Cape Town, because the sun sets late in Cape Town. So if the sun begins to set later in Johannesburg going into the future, we need to start planning for that in terms of the film industry, the arts and the creatives. So I'm trying to say, pothole, yes, but then what? What else are you offering? Pothole, yes. Clean audit. There are financial management systems. That's why Minister of Finance was hitting the mayor of Johannesburg so hard in that letter, because you are not implementing what is needed and is already there. Why? There's no political will. We shouldn't be fighting about financial accounting, financial management systems and technologies. They are there. We shouldn't be struggling to give Auditor General financial statements to audit.
Exactly.
We shouldn't be struggling to submit audited financial statements to the JSE within 7 months since the end of the financial year. So I'm trying to say this future Joburg I am talking about is a future Joburg that restores what we call, Brutus, the soul of Johannesburg. That soul, people of this city know that soul. They remember it. Do you remember when Joburg, Josie was on the move, we call it? Braamfontein was beginning to attract people from the north with your neighbor goods markets and your, neighbor goods, Kitchener's, Orbit, Baseline, and
Exactly.
Market Theatre.
All of that
bustling. This is not, I'm not talking about, because the past is going to remind you about the city of Joburg when they were growing up. That was during apartheid. Black people were not allowed to come to the city.
That's true.
I'm talking about a city of Joburg that was happening in 2005, 2006, 2007. People felt opportunity, entrepreneurs. Richard Branson even came and opened a school of entrepreneurship in Braamfontein. That Joburg, Melville, Monaco, Cat's Pajamas, Roxy's, and you could walk the streets from Melville to Auckland Park. And if you still had energy to Braamfontein, we could walk.
Yeah.
It was a livable city. It was a walkable city.
It was a safe city.
It was a safe city. That city has been broken. That city has been brought to ground. It was a city, by the way, somebody born here in Johannesburg, as I was asking her, about this phenomenon, because I just felt it in my gut that something has been lost in the soul of Joburg. And she says to me, that city you are talking about, of Johannesburg, was so on the move that we were even starting to talk about having bicycle lanes.
Oh, yes.
Do you remember?
Under Tau, there were bicycle lanes
Yes.
that were...
It was starting.
Yeah.
Why? Because globally, you cannot be a city that is globally competitive if you do not have a sense of public space that is people-centered rather than car-centered. Currently, we plan for cars and not people. But guess what? Take a walk around 5 p.m., 6 p.m., either on the R55 or on Allendale towards Tembisa, out of Johannesburg into Ekurhuleni. Because people can no longer afford taxi fare and still feed their families and still have a little bit to save and something for entertainment. Do you know, Brutus, that in this city there are people who work, they break their backs, but at every month end, they have no money for entertainment. Just to watch a movie, just to take children to the mall to play games at the arcade. Cost of living is insane.
It's insane.
What are people now doing? They are cycling under very dangerous conditions because you have not catered for them to cycle. But they are now saying, we don't have money for taxi fare. There are no buses that run from our communities into our centers of work. So there's no public transport. Therefore, at least we can have bicycles. I walked past somebody in Ivory Park. His job is to fix bicycles. Because people there get on these bicycles and go to their places of work in Midrand, in Waterfall, and so on, and they cycle back to Ivory Park.
And it could be a very cost-effective way and healthy, provided it is safe.
It must be safe. Yeah. It must be safe. It's almost weird that, for example, if you go to London, you can literally take a bicycle. There's an app. It charges you on the app. It unlocks the bicycle. Yeah. You move from one area. When you get there, there's another bicycle station. You leave it there. You close it. You close it in the app.
In Europe, I had a short stint there, and working at UNESCO, you've got people who are the equivalents of ambassadors riding on bicycles going to work.
Yes.
Why? Because it is safe, because it is healthy, and it's convenient.
Yes. Yeah. And in Germany, you've got ministers who use buses
exactly
to travel. Yeah. And then our ministers...
But you can do that if there is proper planning.
Yes.
If people are thinking a city of the future.
And Brutus, you plan on vision.
Yeah.
Your plan can only be as good as the vision, or it can only go as far as the vision that is being put. And what I think this election is in 2026, if we really want to catch up, Joburg is lagging. It's lagging African cities.
Lukhona, tell me, I hear you, and you have a vision, I hear. Are we still going to get the substantive manifesto from Rise Mzansi?
You are going to get a plan.
Over and above what you are sharing?
You are going to get a plan.
Okay.
We're going to get a plan that is very clear in articulating our first 100 days in office.
Okay.
For example, such as developing a watertight water master plan.
Okay.
Because you can't clean up the city without water. You can't fuel the engines of the city of the future without water. So that we need to get very much sorted soon. You've got to sort out the finances of the city. And it's one thing for the budget by the Deputy Mayor Masuku to go and talk about a 97 billion rands budget. And but in that budget speech, she knows that they've wronged the people of this city. She's even asking for their forgiveness. No. Time up. Time is up. Hambakaya. Time is up. It's time for new brooms now to come and sweep. Where you are still raising water, electricity, sanitation tariffs at above inflation rates. And we must only be thankful for the 3.6% on property rates. What kind of rates are these that never go down? They are always on the rise, always on the move. No. So a city that its capex budget is less than 10% of the city budget. That is not the city that way. So you've got to fix the finances. You've got to clean the environment of this city. So we're going to tell you how we're going to achieve those things.
That will be in the substantive manifesto, and
I want to call it a plan.
A plan for the
a
city
plan
of
for a
Joburg.
safe and clean Joburg.
Okay, so yeah, the state of the city. The current mayor gave an address which was followed by this budget by Masuku. The state of the city as you see it, and I think you have elaborated on some of the challenges that the city is faced with. Even though I understand you are going to develop that substantive plan, what are the 5 priorities for you that you would like to see that plan being very comprehensive about them? And that's what you're going to be promising the people of Joburg. What are the 5 priorities?
So there's what we call the key pillars of that plan. At first, you have to deal with the question of illegality. And illegality encompasses a number of things which has to do, I was just talking to you about people peeing on the street. That thing is highly illegal. We need to deal with it. But what is the solution to it? You need to develop public toilets.
Yes.
We need to deal with the topical issue. How do you handle the question of undocumented foreign nationals who are trading in the city illegally? There's a lawful way to do that, enforcement of bylaws, but also building bridges in community with the citizens. Because currently, when we talk undocumented foreign nationals, it seems as if we're talking about undocumented African foreign nationals. There are undocumented Chinese in this city,
yes.
Pakistanis in this city,
Eastern
Europeans in this city, who have huge financial capital and are using it to either buy their way out or to block their way from being held accountable. Whereas those people who find themselves in communities where there's a scramble for resources, where there's a structural political economy problem, where there is deprivation in terms of job creation, skilling of people, advancement of opportunities. Because why you are seeing this to be seemingly what some call black-on-black violence is because in those communities, if we are talking about, it's a class struggle. There is serious, material resources hunger. And as a result, it's a natural, those of us who have at least read in terms of history of political thought, when you talk about in a state of nature, what Hobbes calls it's a war of all against all. And that's why you need, of course, in his version, I don't agree, a sovereign ruler, but that's why you need a system of government.
Yeah.
You need a system of government to help people not to be at war against each other. And because of the broken government and governance in our cities, in our country in general, you are beginning to see this war of all against all, which means the social contract is broken. You need to rebuild the social contract.
Yes. That's
the duty of a government. That's a duty of political leadership, to make sure that that social contract is being rebuilt, so that we're not populist about how things must happen. Saying people must be deported. An executive mayor can't deport people. Okay? But these are the elements I'm saying. In a state of nature where it's a war of all against all, you need a government that intervenes. So illegality encompasses all of those things. But you can't just say, this is what is illegal, and then not say, what are the institutional responses? Because trust me, almost to everything that is broken, there is a form of an institutional response. The other issue that we are very big on is spatial reform and housing.
Okay.
There's a lot of a cry if you go to communities across Johannesburg. If you look at around Main Road and Witkoppen, for example, where the latest sort of informal settlements in high-end suburbia of Johannesburg have mushroomed. The reason it happens, you can't keep developing a city whilst relying on labor that must commute into the places of work at all times. Because of a high cost of living that we've spoken about, transport and food takes up majority of people's wages. So what do then people do? Find ways and mechanisms to try and occupy land so that they are nearer to their places of work. So what kind of development is this that does not envisage some degree of public housing? I don't want to call it low-cost housing. Public housing, because it is subsidized by the state so that those who live in it can pay lower rates on rent, and so on.
Proper planning should be, if you are planning to develop a town in a city, call it 4 ways.
Yes.
You need to understand the nature of jobs that will emerge
and
out
the
of
ratio.
that.
Yeah.
And then say, yes, you can build all these apartments, but they are for a certain class of people.
Yes.
What about the cashier that is going to work in a checkers shop?
Exactly.
And what about a petrol attendant who is going to be working in that fuel station?
And by the way, when you are developing that, you need to ask, where will the public spaces be?
Exactly.
Will there be parks? Will people be only contained in their gated
communities,
600 apartment community? So you are quite correct. And part of that, by the way, spatial reform and housing, is to even ask ourselves, has a city like Johannesburg reached saturation point with shopping malls, like mega malls? It's a question. You can't just take, I hear this thing, and these are the things that have frustrated me to say, we can't analyze our country to its death, man. Malls. So as I've been interacting now with some people, talking about the concept of reviving urban villages of Johannesburg, your Kensingtons, Melvilles, Yeovilles. I mean, when you talk to some, we're talking about professionals, you talk to some black professionals who were, just beginning to be on upward mobility in the 90s towards 1994. The stories they tell you about Yeovil.
Yeah, that's the place.
It was happening.
Yes, that's the place where some of us stayed.
It was the place where they stayed. It was a middle class place. It was a clean, beautiful place, well into democracy. Go to Yeovil today. Completely broken. So spatial reform and housing, very important. Second part. Third part is service delivery. And I'm not listing this in order of importance.
Yeah.
Service delivery. You pay for it, you use it. You can't pay for something. Someone in my house, and I said, hey, we might not be with electricity for a while. Eskom says the city owes over 5 billion rands. And therefore they will, and one of the substations that they're talking about is right next to us.
You were going to be affected.
Highly affected. And then the person says, they just walked to the electricity meter because we've got prepaid electricity. I said, but we've paid for electricity. Why will they do that? These are fundamental questions. One friend said to me, I am now on solar fully. I don't use the water that runs in the tap to drink and cook. I buy water. I don't need JMPD because I've got private security. All I need that I use from the city,
it's a road,
is water to flush. Said, all I need, if you go to the city, just give me water to flush, because the city has already burdened me with so many taxes that I'm completely privatized. My heart sank. You've done so much to augment the failures of the city, and all you can't do is flush. So service delivery, you pay for it, you must be able to use it. That's an important element. The fourth element is around jobs and the informal economy. We cannot continue to criminalize ordinary people who are trying to make an innocent living. We've got to relook at our bylaws.
Yeah.
You can't be confiscating illicit goods Absolutely. If you are selling, illicit material, when you're selling DVD, well, back then when we grew up, it was DVD and stuff.
Yeah.
Illicit goods must have no place. They are part of illegality. They have no place. But you can't tell me you're going to confiscate tomatoes and bananas. I can tell you now, with a clean and clear conscience, the first few days in that council, one of the resolutions, if not negotiations that we will have to do with JMPD, even without we will never confiscate apples, tomatoes, bananas, spinach, cabbages from well-meaning South Africans who are just trying to make an innocent living. Yes, but if you don't have the permit, and JMPD must be oriented to help you comply.
Yeah, but there are people who are fronting as genuine street hawkers, selling the kinds of goods that you're talking about, the basic essentials like food, vegetables, and so on. But those are also centers of distribution
of drugs.
Of drugs. So there will need to be a thorough clean up, and there must be a system to recognize who is legitimately participating in this process.
But as government, just because you've got state power, you cannot abuse it just so that you can follow your suspicions.
That's true.
You must act with relevant, authenticated information. JMPD must be given a new philosophy in how it tackles the informal economy. It must be to help people comply before it criminalizes them.
Okay, talking of JMPD, now that you've raised it, you look at the city of Cape Town. When a metro police officer stops you, they've got a body cam, which is taking a footage of the conversations they're having with you as a motorist or as a street vendor or as anybody. And that conversation and that footage is somewhere where someone is watching it. And that has limited this bribery thing, the cold drink. So in the inner city, in the city of Joburg, you've got people who are operating illegally, even informal buildings, shops. As soon as JMPD walks, they are closing. Some of them are tipped well in advance that there is going to be a clean up. Now, is this something that you're going to consider, the issue of body cams? Because it seems to work to limit the bribery, the cold drinks demands from police officers.
But by the way, besides just limiting cold drink and bribery, it allows you to in real time have so many touch points of seeing the city as they patrol the streets, walking with those body cams. And it's long overdue. Let me just put it that way. The discussion has been there, by the way, in the city of Johannesburg. It's again this issue of political will. It's again this issue of pushback to progress, to embrace technologies. We need to embrace technologies in how we police, in how we do procurement, in how we account for the finances. There, I'm very clear. There is no room. Your body cams, your dashboard cams on the city on the city fleet, and not even just JMPD, just the city fleet dashboard cams, is a good way for the city to have intelligence about what is happening in the city. It also helps you to respond quite quicker to crime incidents and
this illegal dumping,
all of these things. You get a greater view of the city, and so I'm quite clear. There must be, and the nice thing is that as the budget was being passed, today, when we get into council in November, we will be at the cusp of starting another budget process.
Yeah, which will be the adjustment process.
Adjustment process first, which must be tabled in February. Then after that, the budget for the next financial year, 2027 to 2028, which will be an opportune moment to say some of these promises, then pilot projects. There must definitely be a pilot project on this issue of body cams.
Body cams.
There's just no room to negotiate that kind of thing, and so it's important that we talk about that. I mean, of course, there are a number of things in JMPD. You can never have lawlessness spread to a point where you reach getting to a gangster city-state without the involvement of law enforcers. And in the Madlanga Commission,
it's very clear.
It's very clear, though they may not have come to the city of Johannesburg as yet, but it is very clear that here in the city of Joburg, a similar phenomenon is there. And so when we talk about illegality, it's about cleaning up JMPD in significant ways, but enhancing JMPD. Because you also need more personnel, by the way, in JMPD. I'm still not convinced, Brutus, about this need for private security companies guarding city properties.
Was that not as a result of this insourcing thing? Most of those companies that were operating, where their members or their staff was actually absorbed through the insourcing.
But you still have these private security companies getting tenders to guard water infrastructure and this and that, as we have been hearing in the other cities. About why can't the city guard its own? Because you also risk the ability of bringing in private security companies whose ultimate interests you don't understand, having too much information about.
But that is happening even at national,
in the city. No, even in province.
Yeah,
you've got security companies tasked with guarding buildings that are vacant and unoccupied. By the way, in some instances.
Yeah, even guarding police buildings.
Of course, yes, it happens.
Police buildings police buildings are guarded by private security companies. So the phenomenon of the you have the failure of the public institutions and the growth of the private sector. So in all, whether it is schooling, whether it is health, whether you have had this. So the failure of public institution has created a space for private sector to thrive. And it's unfortunate that a government that is tasked with the responsibility to provide that service, especially for the poor, has created these inequalities.
Absolutely, Brutus. By the way, I like this point you are raising, because it probably nearly did not feature in our conversation. One of the things in this vision we wish to reorient is this idea that public services equals poor people. Because that's why you don't have the kind of integration you need in Johannesburg. Because public services are almost seen as get poor people from their bases into the places of the rich and then out of the rich. Why is there no bus from Kyalami to Sentin? Why are there no multiple thriving clinics in spaces of the affluent? So we've got to reorient this philosophy so that this middle class we're talking about, that is so squeezed, it sees itself in this vision to say, in actual fact, yes, I may have a car, but I can actually park my car at home, utilize the bus during the week, and then on weekends, I can take my car and use it.
Yeah, and drive to Machalis.
And in that way, aunties, whatever. Yeah. In that way, what you can then begin to do when you've got enough public transport that can ferry your people and you've reduced the number of cars, is that you can now then transform some of your driving lanes into bicycle lanes. This idea that bicycle lanes are just only for the rich, or because when they were done at the time they started in Sentin, I thought it was a lost opportunity. I must be very honest about this. That debate that happened in 2016, after the elections in August, killed something that could have been promising. What we need to think about is, how do you create these bicycle lanes that anybody can have bicycle lanes? People from Alex can have bicycle lanes to move around Alex and in and out of Alex, as much as people in Sunning Hill can have bicycle lanes to move in and around Sunning Hill and out of Sunning Hill and so on. So I'm trying to say, the imagination of public space is going to be important. Imagination of service delivery as for all is going to be important. The last point, which I'll leave you with in these top 5 points, is this issue around the Joburg entities.
Oh,
which
yes.
is a big talking point.
Yeah. Are you going to collapse them? Institutional review?
Institutional review, audit with the desire to prepare for a reintegration of those entities into the city. Because they create a problem, a governance problem. First of all, they create multiple sites of accountability. So when a person is asking you about potholes as mayor, on a road that as mayor you have asked JRA, the Joburg Road Agency, to prioritize. But because the Joburg Road Agency, they also report to a board, they develop their own priorities. A councillor in the city of Johannesburg tells me they went to do oversight in one of the entities. The CEO of the entity made a call to security to lock out councillors from coming into the premises of the entity because he says he does not report to councillors, he reports to the board. That is madness.
That's
utter madness. And of course, you also create multiple conduits of corruption within the city. But the last part that has become a serious issue, if one of the entities does not submit its audited financial statements, you cannot finalize the financial statements of the city.
of the city, yes.
So then you can't have too many headaches at once. But that is not, some people say, I'll get then collapse. You can go get council resolution. I mean, these entities are incorporated private companies. They have their own, balance sheets. They've got their own problems of debt. So you've got to do a massive technical financial review, understand exactly what it would mean for the city, and probably slowly bring them into the fold. I have my top sort of 5 of these entities. Pick it up, definitely, because of the waste issues that we need to deal with and waste management innovation that's needed. Joburg Water, City Power, Johannesburg Road Agency is also another very important one, because this questions of street lights and so you're gonna get there. By the way, some
JPC,
I want
Joburg Property Company.
I want that Joshko.
Oh, Joshko.
I want that Joshko. That housing company.
Joburg social housing.
So I want it. These are the top 5 because they align with these pillars that I'm outlining to you, but also they align with the urgency with which we need to move in ensuring that council is fully in charge of the service delivery, development, and visionary mandate of the city, as it is envisaged in our constitution, that the executive and legislative authority of the municipality is vested in council.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. One of the books that's here, Michael Barber, How to Run a Government So That Citizens Benefit and Taxpayers Don't Go Crazy. One of the key lessons from that book is the establishment of a service delivery unit, which is what Gordon Brown and Tony Blair did when they took over as Labour. And they established this, and they brought in, centralized this unit and said, you are department of what, but you will account here. So it's important for the presidency then now if we localized it here, I would say it would be important for the mayor to have really this thing right in your hands for you to have control and accountability. So is that the model that you're looking at to have it? Are they going to be integrated in the departments, or this is going to reside in the mayor's office?
No. I mean, legislatively, it can't reside in the mayor's office. They must be integrated to the departments.
Okay.
They must account to the city manager. But one mayor I'm close to has done something compelling, is to say, okay, but I need city manager here and all the heads of departments, all my MMCs, and this is our service delivery model. So that you've got full sight. Currently now, with the current architecture, a CEO can defy coming to a service delivery model. Because as mayor, you didn't hire him or her.
Yeah, hired by a board. Yeah.
Then you can't fire them. That's the reality. This is the scale of mayor being crippled to deliver. So integrating those entities is not having a go at the people who occupy them. It's simply to say, perhaps the institutional arrangement has reached its sell-by date, and therefore something new needs to happen.
Okay, let's move on. Coalition politics. What is your vote goal? And maybe put it differently. Would you settle for less? If the outcome, we know that we've entered an era of coalitions in South Africa. The metros were the first experiment anyway, and it's highly likely that there will not be an outright winner. Earlier on, I shared with you what I said about the bait, mayors that are baits, who will catch the votes, but they are not committed to stay the longest time. You need a longer time to effect these changes that you're talking about. But I am asking as to whether you would stay. Would you be prepared to be an ordinary councillor if you didn't win?
Absolutely. Okay. I will go to council if we, in a coalition arrangement, negotiations are such that Rise Mzansi is not part of the mayoral committee in any formula, whether as executive mayor, deputy mayor, or member of the mayoral committee. I will remain in council, and God is my witness.
Okay. So you are committed to going there right where it matters the most as a councillor.
We must be inside there. When various resolutions are being brought before council, we must be able to interrogate the matters that be. We must be able to scrutinize and debate for the best interests of the residents of the city of Johannesburg.
Okay. Scenario, speculation. We have had...
You still have the luxury to do that.
Yes, I have the luxury. Yeah. We have had a phenomenon which I said it's the Guamandization of our politics, where the big political parties appoint a stooge to become the mayor, hoping that they can pull the strings from behind. But what they are actually doing is to shield themselves from accountability. And then this poor Guamanda is there, but he really is not controlling anything. Now, in a scenario in which Rise Mzansi, your mayor candidature, is becoming a possibility even without a substantive majority, where you will be forced to work with others, what would you do differently as a mayor who is then installed but does not have the majority? In other words, you are there, maybe you are a mayor and not even having another MMC who comes from Rise Mzansi, but you are the only one. What would you do differently to assert your authority as the mayor?
You set parameters at negotiation.
Okay.
You don't leave it too late. This is why I'm really pro this idea of coalition agreements.
Okay.
So that we've got parameters. This is the policy agenda we agree on. Let us be honest with residents which policy areas we disagree on, but we are negotiable. Let us be honest on which policy areas we are in complete disagreement and we might never find each other. What are our ways of working so that you then put it to the residents? So that one day when you walk away because you feel that people are honest to the agreement, the residents would understand. By the way, Al Jama allowed itself to be a convenient vehicle to be parked while the ANC was sorting out its factional battles. It's not that the ANC didn't want to lead. They just were in disagreement about what comes next after they had lost 3 mayors in office, which was a tragic event. They didn't agree what is the best way forward. So then they created a convenient vehicle. I remember Hanif Hendricks saying to me on air,
Al Jama, yes.
Yes, even if the ANC needs us for a month to be in office, we will take it just to help them to sort out their problems. However, where you have lost on the negotiating table, look at Dr. Nasipi Moya in the city of Tshwane. She has 2 other MMCs in that MACO.
One of them disappointed her.
And she acted very swiftly, and I'm very proud of her. We are of the same generation. We know each other very well. And she acts firmly there because she creates red lines to say, I'm not going to be a puppet. You see, when you've lived your life with courage, discipline, authenticity, affirmation, you cannot become a puppet.
So Lukhona will not be a puppet.
They know it themselves. All the people in the race, they know this
it's not a
is
puppet.
not a puppet.
Okay.
And that's why there's a bit of a fear of God in their hearts.
Do you have non-negotiables for such a coalition arrangement? In other words, other parties would say we'll never work with so and so. Others would say you either agree to land expropriation without compensation, otherwise we're not going to work with you. Do you have non-negotiables?
A non-negotiable for me is leaders who are truly unwilling to embrace the idea of collective leadership in a coalition. Of course, as executive mayor, you enjoy some good powers. But once you are there through a coalition, you must be negotiable. And you must be somebody who is able to take people along. You must be somebody who, at least in these issues that we have been talking about, spatial reform and housing, how we utilize land, how we bring the working class closer to their places of work. Those are very important things. Achieving justice is very important. And if already when negotiations come, you are drawing a red line on those things, then there's a bit of a problem. Because we agree on potholes, street lights, robots, waste, and so on. But these are basics. We can achieve them within a year. Then what? What are we doing for the rest of the 4 years? So for the rest of the 4 years, we are trying to implement a safe, a just, equal society in Johannesburg that is beginning to work for everybody, that is beginning to lower the cost of living, that is beginning to generate hope and revive the soul of the city of Johannesburg. So there must be a broader vision than just basic service delivery issues. That is important to me. People who embody a flirtation with criminality cannot be part of that. You can't rebuild this Johannesburg with people who fled with criminality.
Who are those? This is a brutally honest conversation.
I don't think, in good conscience, I can trust a Kenny Kunene.
Okay.
In good conscience. I don't think so. These red lines are important so that it's not only the people who are in the coalition who have confidence. So you heard what I'm saying. Individual, I didn't say anything about the party. So there must be a distinction here. The quality of leaders that emerge from political parties must be such that the residents of Johannesburg can have confidence in the coalition government.
Yeah, but that would be like dictating to the political parties as to who they should choose to lead them. And if they have put Kunene as their mayoral candidate and they are able to get more votes than what they got in the previous elections, then there is some support that they are enjoying as a result of having Kunene. Would they not have the right to say, we don't want Lukhona, we want Songezo?
Well, Songezo is chairperson of Scopa, so they must deal with whoever is in council. The point is the executive mayor appoints.
Mm-hmm.
The party, when it comes to a negotiation table, of course, it has the right to propose if it is to enjoy an MMC position. But I think the executive mayor would then have to take full accountability of the people he or she has appointed. Mm. And you must be able to sleep well at night that in your Mako you've made the right appointments. It would not be to dictate.
You didn't appoint.
I didn't dictate.
You didn't appoint someone who flirts with the criminality.
Yeah.
Okay. But I also read an undertone in what you were saying about justice and are you trying to say something about the DA? Are you saying you won't work with the DA, or you saying a particular individual in the DA?
No. You know what? Actually, no. Let's just talk about that without necessarily even in the context of a coalition. Mm. I understand why the DA brought Helen Zille here. Mm-hmm. They claim a track record in a city where people can't, where people, not any is why native white people in Cape Town are complaining that they cannot afford to purchase homes because the governance model has created a sense that has become a nomads economy.
Oh yes, the gentrification issue. Yeah,
and properties are
property rates have gone up such that owners of houses can no longer afford to live in their own houses.
You can't afford to buy a house as a professional who is now feeling, and people are now moving from Cape Town to Johannesburg because here there's still a bit of plenty. But I also think her attitudes towards transformation are problematic, and in a city like Johannesburg, built actually on the successful implementation. If you look at the private sector here and its face, yes, of course, at the top levels in terms of JSE listed companies, how many CEOs are black and women and so on. There's still a lot of transformation. But if you look at middle management, senior management, a lot has been achieved through employment equity policies and having transformation officers who are very robust and transformational. The city of Joburg is a melting pot of transformation. It's always actually asking itself the large question of how best can we transform. So I do think that they've done themselves a disservice to have a candidate who may on the face of it look like they will fix the potholes and so on, but will they bring the working class closer to their places of work? Will public transport be generated to cut across and integrate the city and so on? Will the question of transformation, which matters to so many residents of this city, matter? And I think that there's a bit of incompatibility there, but it is on their conscience. It would be interesting then to say, when we negotiate, what role? And the question is really, you've asked me a tough question, an important question, which is, will she stay in this city if she does not become mayor, or will she go back to Cape Town? And it's important to see if leaders will be willing to fight. We saw another leader at Action SA, Herman Mashaba, when he didn't become mayor, he resigned his seat in council. So are we looking at people who are really, just as you are saying, bait for votes, bank votes, and then after that abandon the mandate that they are given if they don't get the ultimate prize of becoming executive mayor?
Suppose they stayed and you are now tasked with the responsibility to constitute a government. And Action SA says, we're fielding Helen in the mayoral committee. The DA says, Helen Zille is staying. She's going to be in the mayoral committee. And Lukhona is the mayor. Would you work with the two individuals?
Well, it would
in
depend
that mayoral committee?
And it really depends on the balance of forces in terms of what the outcome is. It may be that you need both parties in a coalition arrangement. It may be that you don't need both parties in a coalition arrangement. So I think going into the granular detail of that would be determined by the scoreboard at the Results Operations Center.
Okay, we'll live to see that, the results of the 4th of November. Fundraising, your campaign, how is it going?
Hard.
Are they warming up?
It's hard.
Are you talking to deaf ears? Are they opening their pockets? Are they sending EFTs?
No, certainly not talking to deaf ears. There is a degree of appetite. And I must say, so that there's no room for confusion, a degree of black business people appetite. To say, let's talk. Seems as if you are doing something. Rise Mzansi is doing something disruptive in this city of Johannesburg campaign. Listen, Brutus, you are a political researcher. You know that campaigns, I see there's a book here.
Winning political campaigns.
A manual for success by Attorney Charles and Jerome Ware.
Yeah.
Campaigns are expensive.
Yeah. In fact, he says in that book, he says that political campaigns are so expensive that it is even costly to lose.
Yes.
Yeah. You lose at a high cost.
So one funder once said to me, politics is the only place where you pump in money with no expectation of any returns. Right?
But you
are supporting democracy. And this is why I've said to people, even 5 rands is enough. But the greatest thing I would like to fundraise in this campaign is people's time.
Yeah.
If you can donate half your Saturday handing out pamphlets in your neighborhood, in your locality, if you can donate your evening by calling a house meeting at your house and inviting us to come and explain our vision, to come and introduce ourselves, if you can donate your time to walk the streets with us when we do door-to-door and visibility campaigns, donate your time to help us put up posters and take them down when the time comes. If you can fundraise time from enough people, you probably take away 25% of your budgetary needs.
Yeah. We maybe as the last question, and I think we touched on this a little bit. It relates to what we were talking about, the vision beyond the pothole. There has been, it has in the main been lip service, talk of a smart city, Joburg smart city. There's even a unit there in the city of Johannesburg that deals with smart city, but there has not been anything smart about the city of Joburg as compared to the other, world cities out there. What is your thinking about, reforming and making Joburg to be competitive with other cities? I mean, you go to Asian cities, you get in the ablution, you even get your urine test out of passing a urine. I mean, that's smart, right?
Yeah.
You don't get something like that here. And these cities have advanced. You look at what Lee Kuan Yew has done in Singapore, and it took just this small little behavior. You talk about peeing in the streets. What Lee Kuan Yew was dealing with was chewing gum and spitting of saliva in the streets. And only that, changing that, made a huge difference in the city.
You can't take chewing gum inside Singapore.
Exactly.
Even today.
Yes, exactly. Now, I'm saying what is your thinking in in these small little things that may look innocuous, but they are important, but also in taking the new direction that other cities are taking out there in the world.
So have you spoken about the behavioral issue of peeing all over the city? It's it seems a small thing, but it's a beginning of a conversation to changing behavior. That public spaces belong to all of us, but we've got an equal obligation to those public spaces. The biggest problem South Africa has fallen into is catchphrase development. People once went to launch a smart city in Ekolobeni in the Eastern Cape. I mean,
there's also another one.
In Lanseria here. No, there's a Lanseria one. I mean, it's been in the talking since 2011. Fight over land disputes. By the way, the people who are talking about a smart city and then they demarcate a geography for it, they are talking about developing something exclusive for the rich. They're not talking about a city that works for everybody. I don't even think some people understand the definition of smart city. The issue here, and we had a conference on this in Dubai in January, is on the concept of public digital infrastructure. So we've got the public physical infrastructure, but we need the public digital infrastructure, which talks about, your digital identity, your biometrics and so on, digital payment systems, and information sharing across various sectors, private, public, civil, and ensuring. So we've got what is called the smart ID card. I'm not sure what is so smart about that ID card. In some countries, the smart ID card is also your bank card. You can make payments with it. It also contains, if it is scanned in a hospital, it's got your hospital records. If it's scanned by traffic police, they can see you've got a license. If it is scanned by this kind of department, so it's a hub of information centralized into one pot. There is potential for Joburg, but remember, I've said, and again, this thing of public housing, it's not new. In Singapore, it was there. There was even regulation of how many kinds of native people can live there, how many Bangladeshi people can live there. You remember they had their own migration problem as well there. How many Bangladeshi, how many Chinese can live in one building as a form of fostering social cohesion. So we must be able to see bylaws as a function of accelerating development, but also transformation of the public space. So for example, you can't talk about a smart city if connectivity. Do you know that in some cities, the issue of bandwidth, not even just connectivity. Connectivity is already there. Now they are arguing about the speed. My download speed is too slow. And it's a political issue. It's a campaign issue. That's how advanced some other cities are. So we've got to get to that level where we leverage on technology, we avail technology so that services are closer to people, services are accessible to people, and we don't need physical buildings all the time for people to be able to, be in business with the municipality, business with the other, and all of these other things where our technologies are, for example, blockchain technologies in procurement. A city, it can be a smart city where people are still processing tender documents this thick and manually, page for page for come on. That is definitely not a smart city. And it's nowhere near the potential of becoming a smart city. And
not even a world-class city.
No, not a world-class. So that's why I'm saying the idea seems to me to be to create an enclave city within a city, and then call that smart, and then say Joburg is smart, or Joburg has a smart city in it. I don't know. But a smart city is where the whole of the public can function within a platform that operates on technology, that internet is available, and of course now elements of artificial intelligence are built in that within the right scope of ethics and data protection and human protection.
Okay, as we close, you have taken a step, a courageous step, as a professional. And I can imagine, there has been a culture in our politics of gatekeeping, which has made it almost impossible for a person of your stature, of your background and qualifications to enter into politics. But here we are. You have taken that bold step, and I've called it brave and courageous. What is your message to other professionals out there?
My message is that we should all at some point aspire to serve our country through public service. It should be something that we desire. I know that we have contaminated as a country the political space such that if you leave your workstation and you go to politics, it's almost like you are committing career suicide. I want to say to those professionals, this step taken before me by the likes of Songezo Zibi, Vuiswa Ramokgopa, inside Rise Mzansi, and that I follow in their footsteps, that they see us as those villagers when there's long, tall grass, nobody wants to walk in. That a number of people keep walking behind each other on the same path until a path is open for others to walk and they don't get wet and dirty.
You're a real rural boy.
Absolutely.
I grew up in those environments.
Caught in urban trappings. And I want to say to those professionals, we are opening a path so that you too, when the time comes, it might actually be much easier and for it not to be called brave and courageous, but simply called stepping up into public service to demonstrate our patriotism, to fuel our country forward, to inject it with the best of ideas and expertise, and to make life in this beautiful place we call South Africa safe, just, equal, and full of prosperity for ourselves, our children, and many more generations to come.
Thank you very much, Lukhona Mnguni, the mayoral candidate for Rise Mzansi. We wish you luck. I want to end with a quote by John Adams, who wrote a letter to his son. Public business, my son, must always be done by somebody. It will be done by somebody or other. If wise men decline it, others will not. If honest men refuse it, others will not. That's a challenge to professionals out there, that if you don't get involved in politics, politics will involve you. And Lukhona has decided to walk the path. We're watching and we wish you well in your campaign.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.